Nasty. Nasty.
They were called Nasties, and they were nasty.
Some of the things that we've seen are so horrific.
These films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect adults as well.
An extravaganza of gory violence capable of depraving and corrupting those who watched it.
I have never seen a video nasty. I wouldn't. I actually don't need to see what I know is in that film.
And welcome back to another episode of Doing the Nasty Podcast. This is season 2, episode 39, and we are just gonna, we're just gonna slide right through the fact that it has been a long time since we did one of these episodes, and we're just gonna get straight to the. No, I'm only joking. We would never do that. We would never do that. Yeah, we are back to finish off some unfinished business, or as the kids call it, B-Snatch. I don't think any kid has ever called it B-Snatch, but we're calling it B-Snatch. This is episode 39. This is the third last episode of the entire Nasties series. And yeah, bringing him out of retirement. He's too old for this shit. He didn't want to come back, but he did answer the call. All it took was immense amounts of blackmail and his country falling apart. Is my co-host with the most, Mr. Mark Ball. How you doing?
This is the longest season of any show. There's like 6-ish years we've been working our way through this goddamn list. And yeah, once we've got to the very tail end of this thing, I think it did require a little bit of a break. We had to sit in a cave like monks somewhere and think for 2 years about, do we really want to finish this show? Like we've come this far. I mean, we might as well, but also, do we really want to finish this show? And thankfully, we came to the conclusion that yes, this has been a fucking a thread that has needed pulled on for about 2 years now.
Yeah, this is the me sending you the message saying, by the way, are you aware there's only 6 movies left to do? Is the podcast equivalent? It's the audio podcast text equivalent of that scene in Predator where it's like, you son of a bitch, and then the 2 hands come to. That's kind of what we did in that moment, and agreed that. I'll tell you what is, right? So I put a lot of podcasting on hold. Like I put a ton of podcasting on hold. Mostly because again, I didn't want to do it. 2, I had another project that like literally took about 8 months to get off the ground, and has quite thankfully just finished its first season. So that's been like a year and a half in the works as well. And also I was I was doing too much. And on the flip side of that, you were back at school. You were, I think you hadn't just changed jobs, you were about to change jobs, or you were looking to change jobs. So that was all happening in the background. And I think the idea of us sitting down and watching another fucking awful movie that you've had to spend a fortune on, Mark, and I've had to source through pain, through sites that have caused my computer immeasurable damage. You know what? It just didn't feel rewarding. Just I only get the weekends to myself. Do I really want to spend it doing that? And the answer was no. And I didn't even give you an option. I just never returned your call. I ghosted you. I ghosted you for 2 years.
We had to go our separate ways for a little bit and think about our lives.
We had to live some life. And the impetus for us coming back at this stage is, one, the huge project that I've been working on has finally finished its first season and it's gearing up for its second season, so I have this lucky window of a couple of months where I can start doing things. But just like Stella, I've kind of got my groove back. I'm in a position where I kind of want to do some other podcasty stuff, but there's absolutely the as they would say over in this country, the brass neck of me to essentially start up another show while you are in the wings going, dude, there are 6 movies left. It's like that meme. I think it's from one of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies where his mask is all ripped to bits, where he's just stopped a train running off the track and his mask all torn. And it's, I think the meme says, this is your underwear looking at you buying another PS5 game. And that's it, like the brass neck of me, like the torn underwear of the Doing the Nasties podcast. The raggedy ass, like ball sack hanging out a bit, watching me got that, gonna start another show. you know, it's never going to work. So I'm going to ask you, because this is legitimately the first time me and you, I think, have talked on anything. I think there may have been a call in between at some point with another group of friends, but even then, that was like 2 years ago or something. How are you getting on? Are you doing well, Mark Ball?
I mean, it feels almost exactly like when we started this show and COVID was fucking first hitting. In my personal life, things are going great. The world around me is going up in fucking flames. Yeah, I've considerably like, time is always a factor. Time and energy and like motivation are always huge factors, but like, technically speaking, I have way less excuse to not be doing podcasts now.
Yeah, you are. You've moved into the audio field now. So you're interesting enough. You're in the job that my qualification was studied in. So
I was gonna say, yeah,
sound engineering is what I studied.
Audio engineering. Yeah, I'm almost all the way through. I'm still going to school too. Like, it kind of worked out that the audio engineering program kicked off right at the same time that they're like, hey, we need a fucking AV coordinator. We need a guy that knows microphones and cables and TVs and cameras, and I was the man for the job, apparently. So yeah,
apparently you come from that. Had you not done? Memory serves. And this is going way back in my memory. You did like local news, did you not? Like
I did. Yeah, that was like right out of high school. It was kind of what I started doing. Was local news TV production. So that was my main qualification, like professionally, for bumbling into this. I did honestly like put like amateur podcaster and shit on like my cover letter and stuff. Like I was a little nervous to do that because I'm like, God, I hope they don't go fucking looking up like any of this and like confirm,
some of those shows are gone forever, Mark. And that's
most of the really bad ones have been lost to time, lost to the ether of the internet. But yeah, I ended up landing the job. I've been there about 6 months now, and it's been pretty great. I'm talking into a Yeti mic right now that I've had for like fucking 10 years, and we have a grip of these things on campus. Like I said, any technological failings at this point is like a really bad sign for me, because I should know exactly what the fuck I'm doing here. But yeah.
Like so you're saying that when we started doing this, Trump was in office, and we've come back and Trump is in office.
Yeah, he will probably, if he has his way, he will probably still fucking be there when we do the 25th anniversary of this thing, and he's a head in a jar, like Futurama. Assuming Iran hasn't fucking nuked us all off the face of the planet.
We'll be fine. Listen, we'll be fine. Did you not hear? He obliterated their nuclear capability, so that was 9 months ago. So we're all okay.
He gets to watch the new age Faces of Death every night for his briefing on how things are going in Iran.
Dude, that's really
what it sounds
like. Weirdest fucking for me to be in 2026 and for there to be a Faces of Death movie coming out, just like it hobbles my brain. It's like my brain is now like James Caan's ankle in Misery. Just like we've just taken a big old sledgehammer at that bitch. Yeah, that's gonna be not good, because I just want to stress here, Faces of Death is not a good movie.
No.
And its reputation, like I saw it when I was like 11. I remember watching it on like a fuzzy VHS tape, and at that point never was I thinking, one day I'm going to start a podcast that will cover Faces of Death. And yeah, that happened. But yeah, and the only thing that's got me interested about it at all is the fact that Charlie XCX is in it, and I'll be putting it out there right now. I think she's phenomenal, and I kind of want to see what she's doing in that, between that and the Takashi Miike movie she's in as well. Turns out she's a big genre fan, so that will also make you a fan. So
I forget his name, but the guy that directed the new Faces of Death movie, he also did. Isn't he the same guy that did a movie called like Cam Girl from?
Oh yeah, I liked that one
a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a pretty solid movie. I saw that Fantastic Fest many years ago, and so that's got me kind of intrigued. But yeah, they're trying really hard to like stir the controversy pot and make this seem like they're really trying to recreate what that series had in the 80s. And obviously you can't, like, we live in the day and age of like we all saw Al Qaeda beheading videos.
That's
like 20
literally what I was
fucking
going to
years ago.
say. Like that's where these movies don't work.
Yeah, you can't do it nowadays. We've seen shit like 10 times worse, and all of it fucking real, and like the original Faces of Death movies. So like I think it's smart that they went in a slightly different direction, and it's kind of narrative based. But yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see how that one works out. But wild that it fucking exists. They've been talking about it for years now, and like the fact that it's finally coming out, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, we will. Like, time will out on that one. So we have, like I mentioned, we have like literally at this point 6 movies left to go, right? And if diligent listeners out there have someone that's just accidentally stumbled onto this series now and is working their way through it, they will be like, on the previous episode, however long ago, I'm just checking, on the previous episode from May 2024. Jesus fucking Christ. What did we do on that?
They're all out there, though. Go back and listen to the other ones.
Savage Brutes and The Thing. If you're going to take a break, you take a break after The Thing. Like,
yeah.
Because that movie shouldn't be included in any fucking list except awesome movies that you should have watched many, many times over by now.
Obviously, my favorite movie of all time, but definitely my favorite movie from these fucking lists. So, I mean, we almost could have just like maybe that was part of the thought. Like, let's just quit after that.
Yeah, like we're back to do two movies tonight, which were not originally advertised. So I think the original lineup was we're going to be doing Blood Song and Toy Box, but instead we're going to do Blood Song and The Black Room. On the next episode, we're doing Toy Box and Wrong Way. And then on the final episode, we are still doing Abducted, aka Schoolgirls in Chains. I mean, this is like I'm reading that and I'm like, this is why we weren't here for 2 years. And Zombie Holocaust, which I am so excited to go out and because it's such a bad, amazing fucking movie, and it's Italian. It mean you're gonna have like it's an Italian zombie movie. It's fucking great. I
think both of those have nice Blu-rays at this point.
We
too,
do of this, yeah. So I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So yeah, we're gonna finish off on that. But I'm gonna give the listeners a little secret. There's a little peek behind the curtain here, listeners. I know what you're thinking. How can we trust these two handsome, young, heavily hung men that are recording right now? How can we trust these lush cunts with releasing the remaining 2 episodes in a timely fashion? Well, this is the peek behind the curtain that I'm giving you right now. Me and Mark have set a tentative line to record these, and I am not releasing this episode until the last episode is recorded. So I can guarantee you, dear listeners, that every 2 weeks from the launch of this episode will be a remaining Doing the Nasty episode. That is my gift to you for patiently waiting for 2 years. I know it seems like it was maybe... There was no receipt with this gift, so you just have to keep it. And no exchanges, no backsies.
No refunds.
Yeah, so that's what we've got. I will also say it is an intention to do a concluding episode. Now, in the past, the concluding episodes were a lot of fun because we're right after the long run of movies. We've been doing this, as Mark said, for 6 years, which means when I'm like that, cast your mind back, you have to cast it back 6 years, which is like a bit long. But yeah, we're going to do a kind of recap of top 5 best, top 5 worst from the list of 83 that we have, 82, sorry, that we have rolled through. And yeah, we will kind of scourge our brains to think of like most absurd moments we saw, our most surprising movies, or anything that can make an interesting topic to conclude that out. So that will be the last episode. So there are 4 episodes left to drop. When that last episode drops, the Nasties podcast is finished.
We're done.
No more. Done. We can go off into the sunset as proud warriors, successful in our victory after many years.
We'll fuck off for another 2 years, and then we'll come up with something else to torture ourselves with. Yeah,
some other bizarre idea where we're like, it's only 105 movies, Mark. I mean,
and they're all bad.
Like, there are only 105 foreign movies without subtitles, Mark. Like, really bad editing, all shot in a single room. It'll be great. We'll love it.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I never close the door on anything fully, but I will say that when we finish our final episode of Doing the Nasty. This time it is a definitive. I can't see me ever doing anything Nasties related again. I think. I hope. But you never say never. So
I wrote a fucking 20-page paper about these movies like a year or two ago. Like, I'm sure my English teacher fucking hated reading that shit. Actually, that's a lie. She was actually pretty interested in this whole subject. So yeah,
we've spoken about this before. Like the idea of what the UK went through at that time period mirrors not fully what things like Tipper Gore and Al Gore were doing. Like with music and movies to an extent with the MPA in the very late 80s, but when we were recording our initial first couple episodes, there was legitimate stories about your government looking at removing books from shelves and other things that are very nasties adjacent. So I think if
they're still doing it, just this last fucking in the budget session of all places in my home state, they're trying.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually these things are the last gasp of desperate people with the remaining like clutch on power is to try and rush everything through. Every bad fucking decision you can do, let's rush it through. So then when we're out, we can say we did it, which is the wrong way to do anything. Yeah, like just never rush anything. All I'm saying is like let our podcast be a great example. Never rush anything. The best things come to those that wait. And with that in mind, we have 2 movies to discuss. Neither one of them great, but neither one of them awful. I'm going to say that. I was pleasantly, I'm going to say it this way. Right? Let me preface it this way, right? I had a memory of how bad some of these movies are etched into my brain, and I sat down and I watched the 2 movies that we are covering tonight, The Black Room and Bloodsong, and I will tell you right now, neither one of these were as bad as I thought they were going to be. So, that is a win, Mark. That is a Duncan McLeish win, right? Because I was like, some of these movies are goddamn nigh on fucking impossible, right? Like, like full of rape and like animals like being tortured and all the rest. Let's see how this gets. And none of that happened here. Well,
no, this is kind of a soft reboot.
Yeah, soft reboot. Like if you like TV horror movies, then boy, do I have a recommendation for you. We're going to be discussing up first the Blood Song. Blood Song. We'll get into it. Like this blew my fucking head when I realized what was going on in this one, specifically when the killer is announced in the credits as Frankie Avalon. Yeah. And I was like, what, cunt from Greece? Like question mark. Yes, he is a flautist. But we're gonna get to that. Oh, I love these movies. We're going to take a short break. As always, you're going to get a little snippet of the Video Nasties documentary. Someone will introduce this movie, probably explain why it made the list. I think it's because it was a slasher movie in 1982, I'm guessing. When we return, we're going to be discussing this movie right after this.
Blood Song. This is probably the strangest slasher movie I've ever seen. It's from 1982. It stars Frankie Avalon, who was a 50s heartthrob, and he graduated from Greece a couple of years before that, or 4 years before that, serenading teens to attacking them with hatchets. Also starring Donna Wilkes, who went on to Jaws 2. Why I say it's one of the strangest slasher movies I've ever seen. I haven't seen any other slasher movie where the killer plays a flute, so has a psychic connection with a teenage girl. She got some blood from him, and so they developed this psychic link. So basically, Frankie Avalon chases Donna Wilkes around the countryside, and the film ends with this climactic chase where he chases her with a forklift truck. It's just the most bizarre film possible. Frankie Avalon, not a stranger to slasher movies, funnily enough. He was in Haunted House of Horror in 1969, where he got a scimitar to the genitals. So he had quite an illustrious career. Blood Song was also released in the UK under the title Dream Slayer on a cheapy label a few years later. It's probably one of the more obscure films in the Section 3, but it's quite a fun one. It does play a little bit like a TV movie with added blood. It's not a great surprise because Alan J. Levy directed things like, I think, Charlie's Angels and a lot of TV work. So again, he was a bit of a journeyman, and this film probably could play on TV with a few edits, and I'm sure it did back in the early 80s on American TV. Yeah, well, Frankie Avalon is not the only 50s teen heartthrob. There's also Tab Hunter and the Arousers killing co-heads. So there's, there's a rich heritage here. But yeah, Bloodsong is one of the strangest slasher movies you'll ever see. Well, it's on the same label, the IFS label, as Night of Bloody Apes and Night of the Demons. Graduation Day was on this label as well, so possibly they got confused with that. One of the least inspiring video covers you can imagine. I can't imagine anyone getting too worked up over it. It's bizarre to think. I mean, it's a little bit gory. There's a little bit of gore in here, but not very much at all. So it's a bit of a strange, you wonder why it would be on the Section 3 list. I can't really understand why, unless somebody really hated flutes, which possibly, or hated Frankie Avalon, possibly. But yeah, I can't really see why this is a mystery why it ended up on Section 3.
I told you this place was giving me nightmares. I keep seeing some lunatic killing people. I'm scared.
You're crazy.
Don't say that.
Multiple fractures left leg, severe concussion, blood type O positive. That's rough to come by. Do we have a sufficient supply?
Yes, doctor.
Do you think I did it on purpose?
If you hadn't been so drunk and run into that car, I wouldn't be a cripple now, would I? The donor's a patient at the state mental hospital.
Some guy killed one of the orderlies and escaped from the College Hospital. You mean the loony bin? Hmm? That's in Corvallis County, right? Out of our jurisdiction, right?
Hey, where you headed?
San Francisco.
Jesus Christ. We've been playing that same thing for over an hour. Don't you know anything else?
I told you my daddy made this for me just before he died. You're just like all the rest. They tried to take it away from me, too. But I got it back.
Hi.
Hi.
Where you headed?
Stanford Bay. You going that far?
Well, I guess I can get you there. Hop in. Hello, pretty girl.
And you were really weird. You think someone was following you or something?
I see you.
And welcome back. So, here we go. There's no rust, no podcast rust on this at all. We're covering Bloodsong here. You just heard them talk all about it in the upfront. Bloodsong came out in 1982. This movie is directed by Alan J. Levy, and it stars Donna Wilkes, Richard. You've got a horrible name to pronounce. See how my pronunciation and understanding of names is not
always
any
my
better?
favorite part of the show, when you struggle with the pronunciation.
I would say that Jekyll is how I'm going to pronounce that.
Jekyll or Jekyll, probably.
Yeah, that's just a made-up name. Anthony Bauer, Dean Clark, like I mentioned before, Frankie Avalon, Lenny Montana. That's a mobster's name.
It's a man's name.
Yeah, Montana. William Kirby Cullen, and there's just a lot of people in here, and we're not going to fucking do that. Fuck that. The synopsis for this movie is listed on the IMDb. It says, a psychopath escapes from a mental institution and starts a murder spree, which ends in the pursuing of a young handicapped girl, don't know why I laughed first there, who once got a blood transfusion from him. Now, you're laughing.
So stupid.
You're laughing, right?
It's so stupid.
I'm gonna say that this movie starts off in a fashion which makes you think that blood transfusion thing is a lot more important than it actually is, and then ditches that idea really quickly when it realizes it's going fucking nowhere, right? It's like that. This can't go anywhere. Get out of the car. And then it just becomes a very mediocre slasher movie. But I'm going to say this, Mark. This is my favourite Flautus-based slasher movie ever released.
What are the other movies in that sub genre?
There are too many to mention right now. Right?
Why there's so many flutes in these movies?
Why, we have a psychopath played by Frankie Avalon, like crooning dreamboat Frankie Avalon, who clearly was like hard up at this point in his career. He's like, well, I'll just do anything. I'll do anything. Slasher movie? Yeah. Crazy? Kill my career? Yeah. Still did Grease after this, which is, no, he didn't. He did Grease before this. But you have, right, wait for it. He is suffering trauma because his parents were murdered in front of him. He is locked up. He escapes and with his flute. Then goes on a bit of a killing spree. And yeah, at one point he was a blood donor for a handicapped girl. Once again, why? Like, I know your daughter's gonna die, but let the blood of this psychopath help her. That's what I'm saying.
I don't even think they mentioned he doesn't have like a rare blood type or anything.
No,
like,
nothing.
He just happened to be the fucking donor. Like, they really like kind of shoehorned this whole blood transfusion thing in.
How would you feel, right? Now, I'm all for blood donation, right? But like, there are certain things where like you need a paper trail. And if that paper trail says, right, you're getting your blood transfusion today is AB positive, and it was donated by multiple MIGs, the mass rapist who's beside Hannibal Lecter in Baltimore State Mental Institution. But, I mean, we could give it's here. We could give you more because it's not a rare blood type, or you could have multiple MIGs. Would you want to go for multiple? I get why they didn't mention it was from a psychopath, but I also think why are they going to institutions and drawing blood? You know what I mean? Kind of just, I don't know, just putting it out there as I think it's inconsistent and insincere. Also, like, clearly there's so many stories behind this movie. This movie is basically financed by musicians, right? So like, why this one doesn't have like a rock and roll soundtrack, although it does have a bitchin' synth soundtrack, is beyond me. But Frankie Avalon essentially goes around playing his quote unquote blood song on his flute before he yeah, which no one likes because it's on a fucking flute, right? That's why no one likes it. And he murders people. And then about halfway through the movie remembers, you know what, this girl got the transfusion, and yeah, she's kind of got this psychic link a la like the Twilight Zone to like the killer, and yeah, we need to do something with this. And then this movie, I was going to say rushes at pace. This movie crawls slowly towards,
limps along,
to the end. And my biggest issue with it, notwithstanding the killer plays a flute, my biggest issue with this movie is one, it is well directed as a TV movie from this time period would be well directed, right? But also two, Frankie Avalon is the least threatening serial killer I have ever seen in my entire life. He just doesn't look remotely interested in the role. He looks
like somebody's uncle.
Yes,
like,
he does.
The chill uncle.
Which, maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is serial, like, maybe this is... maybe in some way this is like a transgressive look at how serial killers are portrayed in cinema back in 82, by basically saying, listen, they do look like normal people and not like crazy psychopaths, but when your movie is hinging on the fact that this guy is really crazy, it would be nice if, I don't know, he acted that way. Yeah, it's my biggest failure.
That's a fair point, and a lot of that is something I think is goofy about a lot of these slasher movies, is when the villain is like obviously like really villainous and scary. Like there's not a ton of them, and some of the better ones like Maniac and Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, like those are ones where the villainous serial killer is very unassuming.
Yes, yeah, and I think like, let's put it this way, the same year as this movie, right? Same year as this movie, you have Argento's Tenebrae, right? And in Tenebrae, you have... I don't want to spoil Tenebrae. It's 1982, so I kind of feel like you should have seen Tenebrae. Plus, Tenebrae's on the list, so what we're fucking doing here? Like, you have two killers in Tenebrae, right? And the main killer, the revealed killer at the end, the Peter Neal character played by Anthony Francesca, or Francois, or whatever it is, Tony, Big T,
Anthony.
The Peter Neal character, all the way through the movie, is like the nice guy, like the guy next door and all the rest. And in the final 5 minutes of that movie, his portrayal of a psychopath is fucking incredible, right? Like, absolutely amazing. But the reason it's incredible is the payoff has been all the way through the movie. He's an author. He just writes about murder. He's not really, it's that way. And this movie, like, had you said to me, Frankie Avalon really is like a guy that just wants to play that. He you know what he's crazy about? He's crazy about the flute. That's why we locked this guy up. I could kind of understand that, but at no point during the killings in this movie am I like, oh yeah, the mask slipped. And now I can see the unbridled rage behind the mask. You never get that. And that's what pushes it to TV. That's what pushes it to Columbo territory for me. Frankie Avalon is a Columbo villain. Like, you know what I mean?
He just doesn't have the range to pull this off, I don't think. Like, he's like so ingrained in being like the teen heartthrob and playing the good guy, and like it's that can be a weird shift for actors when they go to start playing bad guys, and a lot of the time people just like are not on board with it as far as.
And horror movies have a tendency to do that. Horror movies, like the next movie we're talking about on this list, it's got fucking Shooter McGavin in it.
Yep.
Like in his first fucking role. And I was like, that they just literally, like, you either start your career in a horror movie and go on to like bigger and better things that are not horror movies, or it's where your career goes when no one will hire you. And
in this one, Donna Wilkes also. Yeah. She's in Jaws 2, isn't she?
Yes, she is indeed. Yeah, she's got a really interesting career, because if you go through her IMDb, it looks like she had a lot of kind of relatively like decent roles, and then it looks at like at some point she just started doing really trashy movies, and I don't know if that's her choice, or if that's you get to a certain point where you just can't get the traction you thought you were, and you just want to act, so you do anything, and you get that reputation that you will do.
Paycheck's a paycheck.
Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I said before, that's a kind of turning down point for me. I will say though, now the version I saw was this movie, believe it or not, is on Amazon Prime in the UK. And it's no, don't get too excited. It is clearly a VHS rip.
Oh.
Because the quality is fucking awful. But
it's probably the same thing I watched on YouTube.
Yeah, it's not great. And it just looks like I say, I keep coming back to it has a very TV movie quality about it, which, like, by 82 standards, I mean, I like doing a bit of research. This was released theatrically in the UK. So this actually was released and like very quickly pulled, not because of the violence in the movie, just pulled because it didn't make any money at all. It's kind of relatively critically panned. And then I think it was officially released fully uncut like by the mid-80s. So it didn't even really spend that much time being debated as a should we cut it, should we not cut it sort of things, because it's relatively inoffensive in the grand scheme of things when you consider this is 1982 and slasher movies are almost at the point where they went to their maximum zenith and they're about to start shrinking. So even then, it just didn't. It's just a very pedestrian movie that plays with two concepts that are head scratching. One being the blood transfusion psychic connection, which, like I say, is like Twilight Zone stuff. It's like get his hand. He has to get a hand replacement from a donor, but it's the hand of a serial killer. It's that sort of like level of all right, kind of supernatural stuff. And then the idea of the flute. I just don't get the flute. He's a singer. He's a singer. Just have him sing his blood song. You know what I mean? That's creepier. Just to like have him do that. He sings as he approaches his victims. That's terrifying, right? Because an old crew. Could you imagine Frank Sinatra like in a horror movie singing that old kind of Frank Sinatra style as he comes forth to strangle you to death? That's
but then Duncan, you would have to pay Frank Sinatra to write an actual song, and it's kind of I'm fucking positive that's what's going on here, is that they didn't want to pay Frankie Avalon or anybody else for that matter to write actual music for this fucking thing.
Yeah. But the score, I mentioned it before, and this is my last point, and I'll turn it across for anything that I haven't covered on this one. The score is a kind of very lo-fi, kind of boom, boom sort of synth thing, and it's It's pretty cool, but it's
pretty cool.
It's interchangeable by about another 20 movies that were probably released in the same month. But
yeah,
I'm a geek for that sort of thing. That comes on, and I'm like, yeah, bitchin'.
Obviously, that's catnip to me. Yeah, the contemporary early '80s synth score, like that's an easy win, especially when the transfer we're watching is like all VHS up and it's got that kind of crunchy fucking sound to it. That's easy.
Yeah, people pay a fortune now to get their synths to sound like that. But yeah, it's just a very inoffensive, just very. Like, I was thinking all the way through this, if this came on TV, like at midday on a Sunday, would I be offended by it? And I know it does have some gore and all the rest, but it just feels like that sort of movie. It just feels like I say, a TV movie. Anything I've not covered here that you want to swing in here with?
So I think I've seen this movie about 4 times now. I started watching this again for this recording and immediately was like, I have fucking watched this before, have I not? I went back to my letterbox and sure enough, I watched this originally when we were going to record this like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Sorry.
I was like, all right, I'm going back in, I guess. So, like, I couldn't quite remember. A lot of these movies fucking blur together for me really hard. If you wanted to compare this one to 2 we've already covered on this list, this is kind of like a combination between The Headless Eyes and Home Sweet Home. Only I don't think this is as good as either of those movies. And neither of those movies are good either. But this was kind of a half-assed amalgamation of those 2 movies. So yeah, this movie is like fucking Ambien to me. This movie knocked me out like about 3 or 4 times, and I would have to keep going. Like just yesterday, I was zonked out on the couch like while this was playing, and the wife came in. She's like, "Are you gonna actually be able to talk about this again tomorrow? You slept through 90% of this." So I went back one more fucking time late last night and like actually sat and watched this goddamn thing. It's painfully fucking dull through lots of this. Like there's so much pedestrian is a great way to describe this because there's like a whole 10-minute fucking scene of our protagonist just like walking in the street and almost getting run over by a phantom van. This definitely, I think a lot of the TV movie vibe comes from a couple different things. The film stock that they use and the lighting make everything very kind of soft. It's like definitely like glamour kind of lighting for people that are maybe not so glamorous otherwise. It's got that Vaseline on the lens kind of look. And a huge like chunk of the plot is taken up by the relationship between our protagonist and her alcoholic father, who's kind of a fuckhead. This is another thing that has popped up in more than a few of these nasty movies, is that kind of relationship. It reminded me of Lawrence Tierney in the movie Midnight. He's like the exact same kind of character, only like way, way, way worse. So yeah, there's a lot of goofy drama in this that like I think kind of brings it to a fucking standstill through a lot of this, and then peppered throughout there is Frankie Avalon like hitchhiking. Like that's another thing that's like really prevalent in a lot of these movies. The kids nowadays would be like, what the fuck is the big deal about hitchhiking, and why are people so scared of this?
Right here, bro.
Yeah, and everybody's on their fucking Waymos now, like getting parked on the train tracks. Anyway, so and like the flute thing. Like I said, I'm sure it's a music licensing thing, and they might also have like, I would imagine they might have snagged Frankie Avalon at like the very last minute. Like if they had known ahead of time they were going to get somebody like him, they might have made him like a country western singer or something like more along those lines. But a flute is something like you can easily dub after the fact.
Yeah,
like you can put it in the hands of any actor and they can make it look somewhat convincing. Made much worse by the VHS quality of this because it's a high pitched, it's like high frequency kind of sound. So when it hits that, when it's like redlining on the meters, and it's I can hear like it fucked off the cats in my house when I was watching this. That's how bad it was. They noticed. As far as gore, the violence in this one is pretty pretty minimal, but there is a little bit in the opening. This has almost like a similar opening to the movie Pieces.
Oh yes,
where the kid like witnesses his parents killed, and like the dude turned the gun on himself, and like a lot of it's implied and not really shown like in direct sunlight. But there's like a little bit of that peppered in here and there. We got to talk about the ending of this movie with the fucking forklift kill, because any movie where anybody gets killed by a forklift always makes me very happy. I was a forklift driver for a brief period of time, probably while we were doing this show fucking several years ago.
Yeah, also during the 80s and 90s, I think there is about 150,000 health and safety videos that you're given to watch about the safety of being in the workplace that usually involves some sort of forklift accident, like someone being horrendously impaled. And I'm always forever thinking, it never happened. Like who's gonna be juggling on the top of a forklift? You know what I mean? Like what? Who's driving this thing? But yes,
someone that drove a forklift in a warehouse full of a bunch of fucking crazy ass yahoos. Yes, it definitely. Violence does happen in the workplace, and the workplace safety VHS videos was almost like a cottage industry at a time, and those are pretty well beloved nowadays. But just a silly way to end a very silly fucking movie. I think is a forklift fight, and I don't know if I have a whole ton to add to this. This movie is painfully fucking dull. Like I honestly. I would go with some of the other similar titles on the nasty list over this one. Like this ranks pretty. It wasn't offensive, like I said. Like I didn't hate this movie, but god damn it, it was a chore to fucking sit through, kind of.
Yeah, it's like as at this point in like with 82, I believe this movie was filmed in 81. Like you think about all the exciting slasher movies that are happening in or around 1980 and 1981. It's just nuts that someone thought this is the movie. It's like wholly inoffensive. So let's dust off the old rating system. Now, ladies and gents, we don't do your conventional rating system here. So if this is the first time you're listening to the Doing the Nasty rating scale, or you've just forgotten because it's been a while, then let me tell you that we don't do numbers. We do rather sentences. So for the movies that are completely innocuous and beige, as I would call them, it's a case dismissed. For the movies that are maybe slightly risky, maybe doing something a little bit more than they should have, it's a little bit community service, and for the movies that are like really bad, like those ones where you're kind of watching them going, is banning a movie acceptable? We throw
gonna get on a list for watching this fucking thing.
Yeah, we throw it a little hard time. I mean, I think it's obvious where I'm going. I would dismiss this in a heartbeat. The biggest crime that this movie has is crimes against music. So never have your killer carry a flute. It makes it instantly dull, right? Of all the instruments, make him it's the 80s. He should be playing saxophone. Yep. I still believe. Anyway, Mark,
give him a keytar.
Yeah, he should be playing the soundtrack on it. He should be playing. There's the killer, right? Although I would pay cold hard cash to see Frankie Avalon play a guitar. Anyway, Mark, when are you coming? What are you going to give this one?
So yeah, if I was a little old biddy on the British Board of Film Classification back in the day, and I was sitting down and watch this, like it does offend in the first 5 minutes, like a couple of things, like violence involving children and suicide and murder, and but by the time Frankie Avalon comes around, I would my old withered brain would think back to the 50s and the early 60s when he was like a teen heartthrob. It's Frankie. I remember him. This would get an immediate case dismissed, and definitely once all the made for TV soap opera drama type shit plays out, I think the censors would lose interest in this pretty quick and be like, whatever. And it kind of sounds like that is what happened with this one.
It does pretty much,
very short time on the list as under banned, and then probably came right back out in an unedited version. So this is a case dismissed.
Yeah, nice. Right, that's one down. There's one to go. Also, interestingly enough, involving blood transfusions. Who would have guessed it? We are going to take a... see if we can transfuse my interest into that review. We could take a short break. You're going to hear people, scholars, learned folk speak about The Black Room. You're going to hear the trailer. When we return, we're discussing that movie, and we're doing it right after this.
Okay, now we have The Black Room here, which came out on Intervision and is directed by a guy called Norman Thaddeus Vane. And yes, that is his real name. He was born in Long Island, and he's had a very, very interesting career. He lived in Britain for most of the 60s and into the early 70s. And his first two films were made in this country. He made two very, very obscure, impossible to see, low-budget films in 1960 and I think it was 63. One's called Conscience Bay, the other one is called Fledglings, and they're both quite arty, slightly experimental dramas. One of them made through the auspices of the Rank organisation, but they've fallen out of circulation. No one can see them now. I've seen a script for them, but I've never seen the films themselves. He was around in the 60s, around the time of the craze and that whole world. He got into the nightclub business and was running clubs and gambling establishments. So he knew some of the more colourful characters on the London entertainment scene as well. In the late 60s, he became a scriptwriter and wrote the script for a movie called Twinkie, starring Charles Bronson and Susan George. Adeline, she's just turned 16. That was on the posters down in the Tube, I don't know if you could really get away with that kind of thing anymore. So he didn't direct again until quite a while later, in 1981, when he made The Black Room, which he co-directed with a guy called Eli Kenner, an Israeli director who has sadly disappeared entirely off the scene. Apparently he went back to live in Israel and has not been traceable. But Norman wrote the film and directed the actors, and Eli Kenner apparently was the technical director of the film. It has to be said that they both did very, very good work. I think it's a really well-acted film. It's a very well-conceived story, and it looks great. The DP on the film is Robert Harmon, who went on to become a director himself and directed The Hitcher, a great film from the 80s. Robert Harmon, who shot it, uses Steadicam very early on for a low-budget film. This is 81. I mean, Steadicam was around in things like The Changeling, that was 79, wasn't it? The Shining, 1980 or 79. But still, it was a fairly new toy at the time. So for a very low-budget movie like Black Room, to have lots of gliding Steadicam shots was really quite impressive. Now, story-wise, it's doing something which would turn out to be quite popular, and it would turn up in many, many films later, which is to take a kind of a vampire story and update it into the modern day. Take away the fangs and the trappings of the gothic melodrama, and find a way of telling it as a modern story involving kind of jaded urban sophisticates. In this case, it's a brother and sister who hire out a room in their house to people who want a place to take women or men so that their wives don't find out. So it's sort of a passion pit in the Hollywood Hills. The whole arrangement is that the brother and sister will light some candles, put on some classical music, put some champagne on ice, so that when you take your pickup to this den, it all looks high style, high fashion, and very impressive. And it turns out that behind this apparently modern erotic setup, the brother and sister are draining the blood from the people that they encourage to come into this into this situation. So it's kind of a modern vampire story. They're not vampires in the classic sense. It's explained that the brother has some strange blood condition that requires him to have his blood replaced constantly by other people's blood. And so you get these great, rather grisly scenes of young women being drained of their blood through syringes and things, and then buried out in the garden. It's kind of like a yuppie version of Invasion of the Blood Farmers, essentially. That's kind of it's the same story, but whereas Invasion of the Blood Farmers was Hicksville, this is upscale Beverly Hills. But it's the same sort of general plot idea. Norman told me that he wrote the story based on a personal experience where he and his wife at the time had both been sneaking off to have extramarital affairs without telling the other, and then they found out that they'd both been sort of doing the same thing, and then the plot of The Black Room involves the same situation, a couple who end up exploring extramarital sex. And it's actually quite an interesting treatment of that theme. It touches on the idea that, family life can suppress eroticism between couples, that having kids around all the time just diminishes the arousal levels and makes it hard to kind of have a fully full-on sex life, really. When the story inverts, because it's the husband at first who's having all the sexual freedoms and the affairs, and the black room is his. But then the wife gets in on the act and she starts to enjoy the same freedoms, and suddenly he freaks out because it's all right for him. But the moment she starts to enjoy sex with another guy, then suddenly he wants to come crashing down on her with, full moral force and threatening to leave her. So it's very good on the subject of male vanity and hypocrisy as well. So it's a fairly sophisticated screenplay, really. As far as why this ended up on the Section 3 list, it's a little hard to say. We are down to just the vagaries of the various British police forces, and there was no coordination, no one police force. There was no kind of overall kind of guidance about what constituted a video nasty or not. And every police officer would have his own... your mileage would vary, as they say, sort of like, and I'm sure some of these people had never seen a modern horror movie, and just a gout of blood would be enough to make them think, yes, there's another one. But it's not a nasty film in the sense that, some of the more infamous titles are. It's just a very, very good film that happens to have a couple of splashy, gory scenes. But I wouldn't call it a shocker in that way.
I just want to know one thing up front. Are there any restrictions?
Restrictions? No. This isn't the YMCA.
Larry!
Larry doesn't know you came here, does he?
I just had to see for myself. I found what I was looking for. I can go home now.
You can go on out the door and out of my life. And take the kids with you.
Come on, Larry. You started this. Now that we're both in it together, I just wanted to get the ground rules straight.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. Let me give you the deets on The Black Room. This one is directed by two directors, Norman Thaddeus Vane and Ellie Kenner, right? And this one was written by Norman Thaddeus Vane. Now, of note for the old, we'll call him NTV. Feels like I should call him that. He is the director of another slasher movie from the 80s called Frightmare. Now, the only reason I know of Frightmare is because it is in the Slasher Classics collection that I've been doing for about as long as I've been doing this. And only just recently started coming back to do those movies. And it is fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just like it's a passable movie. However, this movie here stars Stephen Knight, Cassandra Gava, Jimmy Stathis, Clara Perryman, Linnea Quigley, hello, and like I mentioned before, Shooter Gavin himself, Christopher McDonald, bang bang. That's it. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
The glorious afro.
Yeah, I believe, according to the trivia, this is his first acting role in a movie.
It's got to be. He looks like he's about 20.
Yeah, I think the rumor would have it he came right from the stage straight into The Black Room and then stuck around after making this movie. So I'm curious about this one because, like I said, neither one of these movies disappointed me. But I am curious to find out where you land with The Black. How did you get on with this one?
I actually like this movie quite a bit.
Yes,
I have the advantage of the Vinegar Syndrome put this out on Blu-ray a couple years ago, and I've had a copy of it and watched it a little while ago, and the disc of this looks really nice. I don't know how I imagine wherever you watched it is probably the same transfer of this, but look pretty solid. This is also on YouTube, I think, in a VHS rip if you're going for that kind of more aesthetic. But this is a really, I think, pretty well directed and well shot kind of psychological. I dipped into some of the bonus features on this. Apparently the co-directing thing was at the insistence of one of the producers. Apparently the guy that wrote the script for this insisted that because he gave some kind of like background and direction to the actors as far as their characters go, that he should be deserving of a co-director credit, which the actual director of this movie was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I directed this thing. This is bullshit. So that's kind of what's going on with that. But yeah, the actual director of this movie doesn't really, it sounds like, think of this as a horror movie. He kind of refers to this as like a thriller, and that's kind of where I lean on this. It's really more, yeah, kind of an erotic thriller. I think this movie explores some really interesting ideas. So yeah, our main character is a dude in kind of a, I wouldn't say like a loveless marriage, but like having kids and just the passage of time, I think, is like kind of started to take its toll on his relationship with his wife. So he is seeking to fill his needs outside of the marriage, shall we say. So he rents this room, which I don't know if this was like a thing back in the, I mean, this is early 70s, 71. Is that when this came out?
No,
like that?
no.
This is 81.
Yeah, this is well, once again, there's debate on when it came out. Anywhere from 1980 to 1982.
Okay,
but it feels like it was shot in the 70s. Like we
kind of, and just because some of the ideas that it's kind of exploring are very like post 60s, like the swinging 70s, basically, like when, like, you know, sexual liberation, especially in America, kind of took a different, a similar but different turn compared to, you know, the free love of the late 60s or whatnot. So I don't really know if this was like a thing where you would go and like rent basically a second home as like your fuck pad.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on in this movie. Yeah, the dude rents the titular black room from this dude that is very scary Europeanish, kind of like in a very stereotypical way. We don't really get a whole lot of clues early on as far as what's going on with him, but it's very obvious that like something shady is going on behind the scenes. Actually, that's not true. I think this movie has a cold open where people are like formaldehyde, or not formaldehyde, chloroformed in the black room and like hauled away. So it's pretty obvious like something fucking skeezy is going on here. But yeah, our main character brings back a series of young ladies, usually one of which, yeah, I completely forgot, is fucking Linnea Quigley.
I know.
She's a bit of a chameleon. She looks a little different in every movie she's in, but so yeah, the movie kind of progresses on. The one big kind of like suspend your disbelief moment is like really early in this movie, where like just kind of out of the blue, the wife is aware of the black room, but the husband is like still putting on the airs that it's just a fantasy and it's not real and it's not something he's actually doing. I kind of had to just like wonder, like, why would he even like bring that up or like mention that, or like why would she think that, like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird, unexplainable thing that they really kind of blast right past in the early parts of the movie. Yeah, you just kind of have to go with it as far as that goes. That she is like naive enough to think that it isn't something that's actually going on. But yeah, also heavily implied at the start of this movie that their love life is kind of like falling apart, and they don't get to do the nasty nearly as often as they would like to.
That's a shame.
So yeah, as the movie progresses, I think it explores a lot of interesting ideas about like monogamy and like jealousy between two people. Definitely like it comes up a thing. Like a lot of the horror in this movie really doesn't come until like the very final act, and like a lot of this really is kind of more a character study of like a failing marriage, kind of. And like they're dipping their toes into the non-monogamy pool, which I'm sure back when this was made, like these were all really like kind of, they were still fairly new and taboo kind of ideas, but I feel like nowadays this is like a little bit less of a shocking idea of, you know, we've got thruples and polycules and all that nowadays. So like the sexual revolution has continued, shall we say. So, I mean, like, really, like, I almost think the horror parts of this are kind of the least interesting parts of this. This kind of becomes sort of a pseudo vampire movie by the end of it. Like, we kind of come to discover that the people that are hosts to the Black Room are kidnapping the people that get brought back to the Black Room, and they are draining them of their fucking blood because the dude has some sort of undisclosed disease where he requires fresh blood. And they mention at some point too that he wants to move into getting the blood of the children, basically. It's like the the Warhol, fucking Dracula. The blood of these halls is killing me.
R.I.P. We lost it, Kieran, the time we were away as well.
We did. Goddamn, rest in peace. This movie is not nearly as good as that movie, but explore, like I said, explore some interesting ideas, and the horror parts I think are the least interesting. But that one line about like wanting to start getting into like draining the blood of children, I think hit me quite a bit differently this go around when I watched it, just because of a lot of things in the news here lately. And I think that's one of the darkest ideas that this movie like just kind of throws in there and doesn't really like get around to. Like, probably thankfully I don't think this movie would have benefited from like child murder or fucking seeing all that, but it's an interesting and very fucking spooky and very dark idea to just kind of throw in at the end there. Overall I kind of dig this one. I think this is a cut above a lot of the stuff that we watch on this show, and it actually kind of has something to say and doesn't it doesn't really spoon feed it to you. It leaves a fair amount of this up to like, well, do you think these guys are like sympathetic at all, or are they like, or is everybody kind of the bad guy in this, or is it just kind of like a shit situation that like turns pretty ghastly by the end of it? So I got along with this one. Gets kind of a strong recommend for me.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on this. I too think this is, I mean, there is the serial killing and blood draining, so yes, it's going to ultimately end up in a horror list. But from my point of view, watching this, I was actually surprised by how adult the movie actually was. How like it's aimed at like adults. Slasher movies and horror movies in general, specifically in the 80s, are aimed at teenagers, and this one isn't. I imagine this one didn't resonate with teenagers who, you know, haven't had like the crushing weight of life on them, and the idea of if I just get married and I just get a job and I just have kids, like I will be fulfilled, and then realize that someone else's dream of success and happiness, and you have to kind of find your own. I found the sexual drama aspect of it far more interesting, and I think on that level it handles it really well. I'd also say the acting is surprisingly strong. Like, I'd never heard of this movie before, and sitting down to watch it, I was kind of taken back. Now, in the UK, if you're listening, this is available on Tubi, so you can go away and check it over there. It isn't, I don't know if it's the same print as some bits it did feel a bit rough, so I don't think this is a Blu-ray print. But maybe it is, and it's just the way Tubi's uploaded it. I don't know, but you can get it there. I found the performances really interesting. What's interesting to me is that this is this is a post-mortem movie, if you know what I mean. So like the idea of vampirism, but done via technology rather than done by I will drink your blood, is kind of cool. So the way it's done in this movie is much more in line with that, and much more in line with the movies that were coming out about this time, where people didn't want to see Count Dracula anymore. They wanted to see real people killing people, and so the idea of being able to kind of fashion that into the story was really interesting. I think all the relationship stuff is really, once again, really interesting. It kind of spurs on a bit of a conversation, and I think that's probably why it's maybe not more popular than it should be, but it's definitely one that I would say should be reassessed. Once again, going to lean into it. A bit of a sin score here, Mark, and it ain't that bad. So
nah, it's kind of minimalist, but yeah, it's not that bad. And there's a little bit of like classical music peppered in there that's kind of diegetic coming from the Black Room itself. But it's sound design in this is pretty great. It's pretty spooky.
Yeah, overall, I just found it surprisingly well put together. And like I say, having been away from these movies for a while, still watching terrible movies. I'm not saying that I only now watch high art. That's not the case. Like, in my warm up to coming back to do this, I've been going back through capturing some of the slasher classic collection titles that had come out in my interim away. And the first movie I came back to do, which really did make me think this is a bad idea, was the movie Skinned Alive from 1991, which is terrible. It's really, 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 really bad. And so I was kind of like, Skinned Alive is my basis for what it's going to be like to get back into these movies. And instantly, I kind of felt like maybe I'm just forgetting all the gems that were in the Nasties list, but this Black Room's actually really good. I think it holds together surprisingly well. Like you said, there are a couple of elements that kind of stretch the disbelief, but nothing that is like overly egregious. And at the same time, it moved I mean, it's an hour and a half. It doesn't, for a movie that's like adult conversations about adult things, movie moves in pretty quick. Like, you don't...
Very 3-act structured,
Yeah,
for sure. We get
classic.
our 30 minutes of setup, 30 minutes of middle, and 30-minute conclusion.
And that kind of traditional formula of delivering that, like, they managed to get enough in each of those 30 minutes to deliver what it needs to. So if I was kind of navel gazing watching The Blood Song, I was actually invested in The Black Room. Do I think it is like a diamond in the rough of like 80s cinema? Absolutely not. But very much like Mark said, I think it's one of those ones that if someone was asking me for like what a really obscure reference, something from the 80s that I've never seen before, I would definitely say give this a try. I think it's trying things that audiences weren't wanting at the time. Very much like if The Blood Song is an ineffective slasher movie because its killer isn't all that exciting, he plays a flute, and there's confusion about what's actually happening and too much downtime. The Black Room being pitched as a horror movie is ineffective to audiences at the time because of the content it's trying to capture, not by the way in which it's doing it, which is very well done. It's just more the story. It's just maybe not something that the kids are going out to the cinema to check out. So yeah, I thought this was good as well. I thought, like, very, very surprised it has put me in a positive light for our final 4 films. No bad ones in there at all, I'm sure. I'm not looking at the next episode, which looks like it's going to be rated R for rough. So let's score this one then, Mark. So you know our scoring system. What are you giving The Black Room?
There's really not... The violence in this is pretty... I mean, there's the threat of violence, like, towards children, kind of towards the end, and there's a fair bit of nudity. You can't really do a movie like this, like, without at least a little bit of nudity. They kind of talk about it on the special features, how, yeah, it would be impossible to, like, do a movie that, like, sex is kind of one of the main kind of themes and plot lines here. So, but they did it on, like, some occasions, like, try, and because I think our 2 leads in this are Screen Actors Guild actors. So some of these people are non-union probably and didn't get paid, or you got their payment deferred or whatnot. But sometimes there are things in people's contracts as far as the nudity goes. Most of them, like, will say no to full frontal, but like some might be like, all right, you can show my butt, or I can slip a tit here and there. So some of the sex is actually pretty tastefully done, and I think that's to this movie's advantage, and kind of leans more into, like, what you're talking about, this being like more of a grown-up movie rather than a movie that teenagers go to neck to, basically. So fuck, man, I'm tempted to case dismiss this one. Like, this is pretty... I don't really think this deserves to be on the nasty list, honestly.
I would agree with you 100%. I think it's a case dismissed, but I'm kind of happy it's a case dismissed, because I genuinely think people should go out and check this movie out. I think I might actually try and track down that Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, because that's not got a Blu-ray release over here. So I may just check that out and add it to the collection. Mark, believe it or not, we just zipped right through 2 movies, and we're going to take our final break of this episode. When we come back, we'll be closing out the show and letting the people know what's in store for our penultimate episode of movie reviews on the Doing the Nasty podcast. We'll be right back to do that right after this.
This is a test of the emergency podcasting system. Listen to the Psychosemantic Podcast. Politics, movies, and political movies. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, legionpodcasts.com. The Psychosemantic Podcast.
And you've been listening to the Doing the Nasties podcast. This is season 2, episode 39, closing out this episode and this kind of trundle towards our final 6 movie reviews with The Blood Song and The Black Room. Now, we've got 4 movies left, and next episode is not gonna be great. I'm gonna put it out there. We are going to be discussing 2 movies, one called The Toy Box from 1971 and the other one called Wrong Way from 1972. Toy Box synopsis is: when Ralph persuades his girlfriend Dana to participate in a bizarre party, she discovers the guests are there to perform erotic plays in the presence of a corpse. Ralph's millionaire uncle. So that's The Toy Box. Wrong Way?
That's kind of what's going on in that movie.
I have still to see it, so is it like...
fair warning, is probably the most pornographic movie that we've watched for this show, so definitely super duper not safe for work. Yeah, the wife walked past while I was watching some of that last night.
Doing research, is that what you said?
I'm like, it's podcast homework, I swear, I'm not just sitting here watching porn.
I know there's more notes. And then the next one, Wrong Way, which, here we go. Oh God. 2 girls are driving home when their car breaks down in the country. They are kidnapped by a gang of drug-crazed hippies and repeatedly raped. They escape. I know, can't wait. They escape, but soon run into a death cult. This is like the worst weekend ever. Who plan to gang rape the girls and then kill them. So just like...
everybody gets raped.
Yeah, it's this spin-off show to Everyone Loves Raymond. Meanwhile, the father of one of the girls gets the police to begin an investigation into the disappearance. I'm just assuming the other father couldn't care. So
fuck it, whatever. We'll have more kids.
The only merciful thing about this movie is it is under an hour and 20. So
thank God.
Yeah, so hopefully we just like fly.
That's what I paid $8 for to get a DVD from fucking Amazon. I'm gonna regret that. Should have just lit my money on fire.
So that's what we're covering on our next episode. That episode will be numbered episode 40. And then, like I said before, we have 2 movies after that and then a closing episode. Now, in the interim, people out there will be excited to know that, like I said before, I'm holding back the release of all the episodes now until we've got them all recorded. So you will only have to wait 2 weeks for that. But also, in the background, I'm going to be uploading the audio of these to YouTube. And they're going to drop in time with this episode launching. So you've just heard me and Mark talk about all the movies we've already covered, and I know what you're thinking. That sounds great, but you know, where can I check these out? Well, on the feed that you're checking it out right now, they're all there for you to go back. You can go and check every single episode that we've done for season 2, all the stuff that I did for the 72 movies in season 1, but now available as, I'll be honest, static pictures with audio content underneath it, because we never recorded them as videos, on YouTube as well. So please go forth, enjoy, disagree, because I'm sure everyone will disagree, but go away and check them out there. Mark, finally, before we go, is there anything that you would like to say to our listeners before we close out this show?
Thanks for sticking around. It's been a while. This was fun to come back to. I still kind of consider myself mostly on a hiatus from podcasting, but I did want to come back and get this one cleaned up and finished up. Mm-hmm. But check out, we just released an album, the band I'm in, called Hospital Property. We just put out our second album. It's called The House That Gravity Forgot. I'm trying to remember. I used a lot of movie samples on this one. I'm trying to remember if any of those are from Video Nasties. Definitely the kind of single from that album starts with a quote from another Vinegar Syndrome release called Death Promise. That is a fucking fantastic movie. We managed to score we got our buddy Brad Bynum from a band called Elephant Rifle in Reno, Nevada, to do vocals for that one. That's kind of the single off the new album. But yeah, it's on all music streamers. Go check that out. And yeah, we'll be back in a week, 2 weeks. How soon is next? 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. That gives you plenty of time to sail the seas and find a fucking horrendous copy of the toy box, because that's about the only way. That was the other one that something weird put out a DVD of that is $88 fucking dollars.
Oh yeah,
Amazon,
that can
and
get fucked.
I thank Christ I did not do that.
Yeah.
Go to your favorite shady movie website and find that one.
Yeah. Don't buy it.
Do not buy it, for fuck's sake. Don't buy it.
That's our rules. Don't buy it. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for checking out this episode of Doing the Nasty Podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another 2 movies. Until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll speak to you next time.
They were called Nasties, and they were nasty.
Some of the things that we've seen are so horrific.
These films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect adults as well.
An extravaganza of gory violence capable of depraving and corrupting those who watched it.
I have never seen a video nasty. I wouldn't. I actually don't need to see what I know is in that film.